Okay, everybody, now we get into a bit of a weird time for Jungle Emperor. See, with many videos online, most of them kind of stop after the 1997 film. And once that's done, that's when the franchise started to kind of go downhill. Mostly because many fans just aren't that aware of what came after the movie. As for our discussion today, we're looking at what is known as Jungle Emperor Leo Hon-O-Ji, the first of two official works to come out after the big film. Don't worry, I'm gonna go over the other film in due time. The Hon-O-Ji special was first shown exclusively at Tezuka Osama World in the Kyoto Station building, back in March of 2000. This actually has a few interesting facts about it. Firstly, unlike particularly any other media in the franchise, this never got a proper English release, or even any subtitles. Any that you do find online are mostly fan-made creations, not official ones. Secondly, this is also the shortest form of media from the franchise. Only reaches to about, say, 10 minutes at most, making this more of an animated short film than an actual movie. Still, how well is it? Is it a fair attempt, or should it be ignored? As always, let's go in and take a look. As far as the plot goes, given such a short runtime, this meant that the story itself is pretty self-contained, mixing in an original story with events from the manga. While it does try to make it work though, and I do give it credit for it, I feel like this is its biggest problem: time. Even if some plots went by fast as some of the TV series episodes, they at least had 22 minutes to make it work, whereas this special doesn't even have half the time, so it's hard to really build up on anything when there's not much time you're given. The whole thing goes like this. The jungle is visited by a new animal, Parla, who was accidentally flown off her truck and left in the jungle. Kimba allows her to stay there until they find their owners. But during her stay, Boo Boo decides to use this decision to frame Kimba and Parla for breaking the laws of the jungle. Parla ends up revealing what really happened, a fight happens, and at the end she's reunited with her owners. Yeah, as you can see, it's a quick-paced short, which, like I said, hinders the project. It isn't the fact that you can't follow the story, but it's more that any newcomer wouldn't really understand the full extent of what's happening, or at the very least, how big some events actually are, especially considering Boo Boo and Kimba's conflict. I'd say this would have been better if given the standard 22 minutes, instead of the 10 or so it got. This would have given better build-up, or at the very least, not feel like it's there for the sake of being there. This is more of a problem with Boo Boo in particular because, unlike Parla, who is a new character altogether, Boo Boo is a highly well-established villain, and without knowing beforehand, he just comes off as a device to move the plot forward. The biggest part to me is in the climax, when Boo Boo is revealed to cause the trouble. When confronted about it...
君がやったんだな。
騙されるやつに悪いのさ。
Boo Boo, I know fighting's your thing, but aren't you kind of jumping the gun here? To credit, it does depict Boo Boo's ultimate defeat when Kimba claws out his good eye, which is directly from the manga, and by the way, hasn't been adapted anywhere else, so good adaptation on that part. I just wish it could have been given more time. Art style and animation are kind of a mixed bag to me. The designs of the characters is taken from the 1997 film, and new characters like Parla and Boo Boo are adapted pretty accordingly. However, as with the symphonic poem, this was given more time to update, but didn't do much with it. Still, Kimba, Parla, and Boo Boo are all very well done, and I appreciate that Kimba here wasn't given just a copycat design to Lune from the movie. It actually looks somewhat different, so there's no confusion on that front. As for Parla herself, I keep seeing resources calling her a tiger. What? I'm sorry, but she's not a tiger. She looks more like a leopard or even more like a jaguar, but not a tiger. She still looks pretty good though. I really like Boo Boo's design though. It's so stylized with the long snout, the crooked tail, shaggy mane, and sneering eyes to show that he is not a good animal in the jungle. Nice way to establish an antagonist just off pure design. As for everybody else, they match the same film's design pretty well, even if not as it enhances the movie. As for animation, it's only kinda downplayed from the movie. Not as fluent as before, and more times when there's still frames, but nothing recycled, so that's a decent credit to the work here. The characters appearing in the short film all continue to play on the roles they were made to do, but most of the screen time is given to Parla, Boo Boo, and Kimba respectively, as everyone else is just kinda there. As for the three in question, Kimba is portrayed as fairly mature for his age as a cub, and shows the qualities of a good king, and Boo Boo of course is more the flawed king, using others for his own whims and rise to power. Parla is more of an innocent bystander throughout the whole thing, and funny enough the one given the most screen time as she's practically caught up in the conflict since she showed up. Also, fun fact, this is the only piece from the Jungle Emperor franchise when another character from a different series altogether actually appears in full. The Phoenix. She doesn't get involved in the story per se and mostly is the opening narrator, explaining how many kings fall into similar traps and how mistakes are constantly repeated because of it. Also, she's the only character to be animated in CGI in the franchise. Nice touch. I can't really fault the thing though for lack of character since it's so short, but what characterization it does have is done pretty well. The musical score is literally all taken directly from the movie, so I really don't have that much to say about it here. If you want my thoughts on that, just watch the 1997 film and you'll basically get the same answer. Since this is considered a prequel to the 1997 movie, I'm gonna go over continuity, which is pretty good. The only thing I really had to worry about is what happens to Boo Boo and why he doesn't show up in the movie, which lucky for them, they made a bit more than clear. More brutal, but still more closure, I think. So the Hon-O-Ji special is kinda decent, but a little more flawed than I'd like. Any improvement I would give is simply time. It's just a little too short to establish what I want to do, even if it tried its best to do so with what it got. I do feel like veteran fans would appreciate this more than any newcomers to the franchise. So I would recommend if you are new to this, watch a little more of the franchise first before watching it. Not saying you can watch this without doing that and not enjoy it, it just feels less impacting it without the background. You're free to find it in high quality up on YouTube, so feel free to give it a look.